Hello. Hey, look at that. Danny is. Look at that. You are on time, Danny.
Hey Liz, how's everything?
Good, good, good. Really close up. How's it going, Danny?
I'm doing okay. I thought I was going to get some rest this weekend, but instead I have to do some work and also homework. But I did when I hung out with a friend yesterday. Uh, we drove to San Francisco. Of course, it's raining. We welcome
Well, let me welcome folks here. My name is Liz Huck. I am with Oakland Rising, and I'm really excited to have this Monday meal and have Danny Thongsy from the Justice Reinvestment Coalition join us today. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff and the work that Justice Reinvestment Coalition is doing in Alameda County, and also just to hear about Danny's story. And what you all don't know about Danny is that he was on Oakland Rising's you were on a daily team first, right?
the daily team. Yep.
And then was on our field fundraising program. So we had what was called Team Money. We called them Team Money, and they went out and did door to door knocking and talking to folks in the community, and then also doing some fundraising at the door. So Danny was there before he left us to go to Justice Reinvestment Coalition, the JRC. So excited that he's here to talk with me. Always have mad love for Danny. But before we get into all of that, the topic of today, we usually do, this is called Monday Meals. And the reason why is because we want to nourish people's hearts, minds, and bodies. And we do this by doing a couple of things. We share, what are you having for lunch? Are you having lunch, Danny?
Um, I'm having snacks right now.
What
What's up,
is that?
please? By the way, this is really bomb. You guys got to try it.
I love it. I love it. Are you gonna have lunch today? Because if you all follow Danny on his Instagram, you get to see all the food that he makes, and he cooks. And I have not had the privilege to eat any of his cooking. I'm a little offended, Danny. You haven't asked me to invited me to join you.
I'm just trying to perfect it first before start a recipe.
What are you working on? Are you working on any food? What's your food right now that you're working on?
Yeah, right now, I'm trying to get down all the recipe for my Laotian and Thai roots, food. Now the
Mm-hmm.
reason is because you know um, yeah, some of you guys that know me, I'm formerly incarcerated, and when you're incarcerated, it seems like the system try to strip you away from your identity, your roots, your culture, and so forth, right?
Right.
And oftentimes when I think about home, I'm always thinking about home cooked meal. So now that I'm home, that's what I want to go back to all the home cooked meal my mother used to cook. Just like really reconnecting with my roots, and that's why I invest a lot of time in just trying to learn and trying to really get down the recipe.
Right. And and I've heard you talk about this too, Danny, is that while you are incarcerated and while folks are incarcerated, like food is a really big deal. Like the ability to cook, the ability to eat, is really difficult, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, because according to the prison standard, they're only going to give you three square meals a day, which is the standard whatever it is that they're going to give you doing breakfast and the lunch, which is just sandwich. Sometimes it's peanut butter, or sometimes it's just lunch meat, which is chemically infected with it.
It's like processed, like overly
Exactly,
processed food, right?
exactly. It's all processed.
So when I see you cooking, Danny, and I see like the joy that it brings you, I just think about that often. And it's really great to see you. And your Instagram page is Stand for Danny, right?
And for Danny.
Stand for Danny. So follow him and follow all his food cooking adventures because, man, y'all are gonna want to have some of it, I'm sure. It's inspirational at the minimum. Um, but Danny, I also wanted to hear then, on top of like all the cooking and things that you do, like what's something that you do? And of course, folks that are following, put it in the chat. Like, what are the ways that what are you having for lunch? I didn't mention what I'm going to have for lunch. I was running around this morning because today is my younger child's picture day, and I was trying to fix her hair, and so I didn't like get to make myself lunch. So I ordered from Spice 3, and once I'm done with this, I'm about to go over there and pick it up. Y'all, if you haven't eaten Spice 3, you should go there. But the other thing that I was wanting to ask you was to see what are the ways that you nourish yourself, like with your body, your mind, your spirit, your heart. What do you do, Danny? And then for folks in the chat, like to put the ways that you do that. How do you nourish yourself?
Yeah, one way that I nourish myself is I try to stay disciplined with my exercise. Yeah, because exercise is kind of like the key part of me just balancing myself. See, because oftentimes, I mean, we're always taught that to meditate and so forth, which is great, but you also have this within your physical self that you need to kind of like let out, right?
Right.
So I believe that it has to be a balance, right? With your mental, your emotional, your spiritual, with your physical as well. So yeah, I think I developed this when I was incarcerated. Because we'll have the pull-up bars on the yard, and oftentimes I would go out to the yard, sometimes by rain as well, just to just get that that energy, that stress, out of my system, so that I can really ground myself and just really focus on what I need to do.
Right. I heard that. I heard that. I walk every single day about 2 to 4 miles because I have a dog. And that dog would not go out and walk Danny this weekend. It was so hard. That rain, that dog looked at me like, "Are you crazy? You want me to go where?" I had to almost drag it out. And then of course, because it doesn't want to be in the rain, she won't go pee. And it was just like, oh, we're in the rain longer. Like, come on, just go to the bathroom. Anyways, I do walk every day, and I find like that really clears my head. It helps me to like feel the movement in my body. And I really try to, I don't know if you do this, Danny, but I try to do like a mindful walking. So I think about like my foot hitting the ground, and I think about my actual gait and my posture and what are my arms doing and my breath, and that I'm actually thinking about walking. Because how many of y'all really think about walking, like the actual act of walking? It's such an implicit thing in our minds. And so to make it really explicit, that's like one way that I do it. Um, but Danny, one of the reasons why I asked you to come on is that actually, I'm gonna drop it in the chat, y'all. I saw this article. Um, y'all should check it out. It's an interview or a story about Danny's life, his story, from school to prison, and now he's back in school. But maybe you can, if you're willing to, Danny, we'd love to hear the story that you shared y'all can read the article, but if you want to tell your story, Danny, it's such a amazing story. It's not a unique story, right? It is a story of many, many people. And I think a lot of people don't really understand the linkages between like incarceration and deportation. And like you talk about that in your story. And I'm wondering if you might tell us a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just like you say, Liz, my story is not unique. I mean, the reason why I'm able to share it in this platform is because, I have the platform and the support to be able to do so, right? You
Right.
know, and I believe that, a lot of people are going through this, I mean, especially, oppressed by, the systemic issue, which has been, been established. And a lot of our community have undergone this, it's just that, their voices aren't being heard. And yeah, that's one of the main reasons why I want to, share my story is to raise awareness about this issue and to let folks know, let the our politician, our system know that this is happening, and this is
That's
not
right.
only happening to me, but this is happening to our community. So yeah, I guess let me see here. Where should I begin? So um, as you guys reading the article, because of the Vietnam War, it had a domino impact on the entire Southeast Asian region. And for my family came from the country of Laos. And during that time, in 1960, for about 8 years, every 8 minutes, 24 hours, the U.S. bombed the country of Laos.
Whew.
So if you really look at the map, right,
Yeah.
so Laos is twice the size of Philadelphia, and about 90% of the country of Laos is heavily bombed,
Right.
and there's still a lot of cluster bomb that has been detonated. And until this day, I mean, you'll see a lot of farmers, a lot of kids, children, you
Right.
know, running around the field would get, I mean, yeah, get blown up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a campaign that's going on, about that. I mean, getting some funding, asking the U.S. to clear those bombing,
Yeah.
and it's only in Laos as well. It's also in the entire region of Southeast Asia, like Cambodia and Vietnam as well. So, but
And
anyway,
it's something that like the US has done in many places. Wherever they've bombed, wherever they've decided that they're going to just drop bombs, they just they leave it there. They don't come clean it up afterwards. And so even though the war or the military conflict is quote unquote over, it's not, right? That's the same thing that happened in Korea on the Korean Peninsula too. Very similar. It actually, it's like because they did it in Korea, they decided to do it in Southeast Asia like a
yeah,
decade later, right? So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, not only did it happen, the U.S. bomb, Southeast Asia, but if we really look at all the wars that's going on in the world, how U.S. do have an influence, actually play a role in it as well. Like you say, Korea,
yeah,
even Japan,
yep,
the Middle East. Just
yep,
think about all of this, right? Even though like you don't hear it on the headline, but still, there's still the impact because of what had happened.
that's right.
So anyway, because of that, my family, fled because of that war to a refugee camp in Thailand. And during that time, there were so many refugees, fleeing for safety.
Hmm.
And so my family was settled in a Thailand refugee camp. So in 1979, I was born. Um, in 1981, when I was 2.5 years old, we were sponsored by, relative who came over before we did. Um, and we were settled in Stockton, California. And Stockton, California, where we were settled in, was one of the most low-income neighborhood,
Mm,
area,
right.
and riddled with violence, drug gangs, and so forth. And yeah, we see that because of the economic disparity and so forth. Right, the community there suffers. So this was the place where my family was settled in. you know, also many other Southeast Asian as well, you know, that resettle in this type of, you know, neighborhood.
Right.
Like, for example, in Sacramento, Fresno, and elsewhere and so forth.
Right.
Yeah, because of, you know, growing up in this environment, it was really challenging for my family, you know, for my parents, being that, you know, they have brought, you know, haven't really don't know how to deal with the trauma, you know, so that trauma, war, displacement, they brought it with him, and I felt that in my household.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, growing up as a kid, you know, I had a hard time navigating through the system, you know,
Right.
and I was often bullied and picked on by other kids as well. And when I was a teenager, you know, I told myself I had enough, you know. I mean, I'm tired of getting
Mm.
bullied and picked on. So myself and other, you know, kids like me that were getting bullied and picked on, we adapted to the culture which, you know, was surrounding us, which was the gang culture,
Right.
and by that, you know, we were able to, you know, kind of like form a group which, you know, would stop the bullying.
Mm.
So of course, you know, and being in the game, one thing will lead to another, you know. But anyway, so when I was 17 years old, my older brother was murdered by a rival gang. And yeah, during that time, I was a 17-year-old kid. I didn't know how to
Mm.
deal with the process or the emotion of, you know, losing my older brother.
Mm.
So with all that rage, that emotion, uh, I ended up, you know, taking vengeance upon another young man. And you know, I remember being arrested and incarcerated for that. And I was just 17 years old, you know. And during that time, I was thinking to myself that, wow, this is going to be it for my life, you know. I mean, here
Mm.
I am, 17 years old. I'm going to
Right.
be facing a life sentence.
Right. Because they charged you as an adult.
Exactly, you know. And and also, like, you know, just a little bit about the political, I guess, you know, era that we were living in. This was the 80s and 90s. And
Mm-hmm.
we also got to remember you know, the tough on crime policy,
That's right.
tend to criminalize, you know, a lot of our, you know, black, brown, and also, you know, poor, low income community.
Right.
But yeah, so that's what happened. I was 17 years old. I remember just, you know, just in juvenile hall, just thinking about my life. Then, yeah, I lost hope, you know.
Mm.
But I remember one incident or one incident when a preacher, you know, came from one of the Victory Outreach program and started sharing about his life story, right? You know, he was a formerly incarcerated person as well. And he shared about, you know, he did some time, he went through the system and how, you know, it's going to be okay. You know, you just got to hang in there. So because of that, you know, it planted a seed of hope in me.
Mm.
So since then, you know, I started, you know, really try to, you know, focus on, um, you know, doing some introspection within my life. Went back to school and, you know, start doing Bible study and also, you know, just taking words of wisdom from older, you know, older prisoner, you know,
Mm.
that had been down for a while, you know, would just sit with them and just, you know, I just ask them some questions, you know, I mean, how do you navigate through this? How do you do this time? You know, I
Right.
know I'm going to be doing, you know, serving 27 years to life. How am I going to serve this time? You know, I mean,
Mm.
7 years is a long time, you know.
Hell a long time. I mean, especially when you're thinking about it, I mean, it's for anybody, but like at 17, right? So add that, do the math, y'all. Like that puts you at like in your mid 40s by the time you would have gotten out, right? Like think about like the span of your life that we don't think, most of us aren't thinking about that, right? That way. Most of us are just like the privilege of like being able to move through the world with, let me just get to my next birthday. Let me just get through this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's interesting, right? You know, I'm thinking about 17-year-old kid, right? You know, I mean, a 7-year-old kid, 17-year-old kid, I mean, normally would be in high school, going to his prom, getting ready for college and so forth. Here I
That's
am
right.
stuck in prison,
Right.
serving a life sentence.
That's right.
And like I say, when I share my story, it's my story is not unique. Other kids, other black, brown, low income Asian kids are going through this as well. You know. Within my life, and started selecting, certain friends that I would hang out with. When I was in prison, and of course, recognizing the politics as well. The prison politics, you know, the uh, um, the oppression by the guards, and then the riots, the lockdown, and so forth, and all of this stuff, right?
That's
So,
right.
so yeah, I mean, in prison, you learn how to adapt to your environment. You learn how to make the best out of what you have, in a sense. You know, yeah, and also I remember being in the cell with this older prisoner. I mean, he would give me words of advice, right? He would tell me just the ins and outs of the prison politics, how to survive, and so forth. And that I needed to do is learn how to manage my time, because the way prison is structured like a military. You know, you have to get up at a certain hours, eat at a certain hour, go to the yard at certain hours, and so forth like that.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, throughout my time in incarcerated, I focus on I mean, just pretty much self development. I um I remember graduating from high school when I was in prison, and for me it was like a big deal because the neighborhood that I grew up in, not too many people graduated, right? And to get a high school diploma, I mean that's huge.
Right.
Yeah, but here I am, I mean, yeah, graduated, and I remember well, we had a graduation at the visiting, the visiting center in Mill Creek, and I remember my mom came. I mean, I could see that tear in her eyes, because yeah, I was the first one, in our family to graduate. Because when my older brother passed away, he didn't graduate from high school. Yeah,
Wow. That must have been meant so much for your mom, like the conflict of like, oh, I'm so proud of my son, but also my son is incarcerated, right? Like the that pride and then also the pain of being separated from you, right?
yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I sense that joy, within her, and also at the same time, that sadness, I mean, that she carried because she had lost her older son to gang, and now, she, in a sense, lost me to, the prison system.
Right.
And wondering when will I ever come home to her.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that was also one of the motivating factor of my change as well, and my just to help me to keep going, right?
Right.
It's that promise that I made to myself that, Mom, I'm making this commitment that I'm gonna get out
Right.
one way
Right.
or the other.
That's right.
Yeah. So after graduating from high school, it gave me that boost of confidence, right? Where, wow, if I can accomplish this, I mean, I can accomplish other things. So so after getting that high school diploma, I remember signing up for vocational trades. First one was office services, and I completed that. It boosted my confidence even more. And for graphic art, and afterwards, I think landscaping. vocational class, and I completed all three of them, and
Wow.
I mean, it really you know, really boosts up their confidence. And oftentimes, you know, I mean, a lot of our kids, our youth, you know, I mean, they've been oppressed so much by, you know, the system, is that at time, you know, they tend to, you know, look at themselves as not capable of doing this thing, you know.
Mm,
And that's why, like, you know, we need to send that message to our youth and say that you can do it, you know. I mean, you know, we have to change the narrative of what, you know, the system, or what, you know, has been, you know, embedded in them, you know. But
right.
you know, I mean, they're capable of doing so much, you know. Because for example, I remember just reading about Dr. Martin Luther King when I was growing up, you know, in school, and just seeing his picture,
Mm-hmm.
just, you know, learning about all the extraordinary things that he was doing, right?
Right.
And it seemed like history put him in this pedestal, like a, you know, somebody that's divine, that you're this, you know, that you can attain that what he did, right?
Yeah.
But in actuality, I mean, you know, he's just a regular person like you and I.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
With a bunch of other regular people like that did the work, right? That are in the movement. Like he wasn't alone.
exactly, you know. Yeah, and I think that that's what it is. Oftentimes, you know, I mean, the media or historian or whatever it is, you know, would paint a picture of you know, um, people as being like, you know, this superhuman, whatever it is, but
Right.
without painting the picture of that, you know, this is just a regular person, you
Right.
know. I
That's right.
just like me
That's
sharing
right.
my story, the same thing as I'm sharing my story. I just want people to know that you know, I'm just a regular person that struggle, that have insecurity, that still needs to work on some stuff within my life. And the only reason
Right.
why I'm involved is because, you know, support from family, friends, and community.
That's right. That's right. All of us, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I appreciate you giving us that perspective. And I think oftentimes when we think about folks who are incarcerated, and that are caught up really in a net of the, system of incarceration and criminalization by, our institutions, that we dehumanize them, right? We make them the criminal, we make them the other, we make them less complex people in order for us to do what we do, which is incarcerate people, right? And so, your story not only is inspiring for like the amount of growth and that you did as a result, or during your, not as a result, but more maybe during your time as incarcerated. But then you were paroled. Is that what it was? And then there was then issues around there's a potential for your deportation. Like that, I remember when that, there's a lot of community folks that really came out and advocated around your deportation issue. And so could you tell a little bit about that story and what that meant for you? And that this is not just for you, but like that this happens to many folks. And then, I wanted to make sure we have time that we're talking about you going back to school, but then also about your work with the Justice Reinvestment Coalition.
Yeah. So, yeah. So just fast forward in, let me see. I want to say begin in 2014. So I remember, you know, I was transferred to San Quentin, um, and there was a group called, you know, Kids Creating Awareness Together. It was a bunch of, you know, us youth offender coming together.
Hmm.
So, but anyway, so the group had worked with the Human Rights Watch, Elizabeth Calvin, and to change the parole board system, right? Because at that time, it doesn't matter if you're a youth offender or, you know, so forth. If you're an elder, if you go to the parole board, you know, you have to meet this high standard criteria, right?
Right.
To get parole. And at that time, the number of people coming home, you know, who are lifer are really, I mean, is really really slim. It's like rare. It's unlikely. But anyway, because of that, and also a lot of other political um, things that were happening behind the scene, especially with CDCR being sued over the prison over crowdedness
Mm-hmm.
issue and so forth, right? So so because of that bill, I mean uh, it passed. What it did was it provided um, you know a different criteria for youth offender, meaning that for folks that are under the age of 17, that had made a mistake, or had committed offense when they were young, and after this certain amount of time, that they were able to appear before the parole board early, and
Mm.
then to express themselves to the parole board, to express their remorse and the transformation, their parole plan,
Mm-hmm.
like that, right? And that the parole board would, would use a different type of, a fair criteria for them, so that they can, get a parole, a parole date. But anyway, so that's what happened, right? So in 2016, I went to the parole board for the first time, and start really sharing about, kind of like really exposing myself to the parole board, letting them know about, my past and what I've done in prison, and when I come home, what am I going to do, and all the support and so forth like that, right? Yeah, because because they saw that, right? They also saw the genuineness and the transformation within me. That's when they, granted me, parole date, right?
Right.
Yeah, getting that parole date. I mean, it, it was nice, right? It was a joyous moment, but at the same time, um, I felt this fear, this dread that I'm gonna be transferred over to immigration for deportation.
Right.
You know?
Right.
and and all of this is because um, I'm I'm not a citizen, you know,
Right.
and because of the 1996 immigration law signed by Bill Clinton, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it had put a lot of immigrant green card holder, also like myself, in jeopardy,
Right.
especially if we have any type of aggravated felony.
Right.
So because of that, on the day that I was supposed to parole, instead of being reunited with, my remaining family members, my sister and some relative, because both my parents had passed away already.
Oh,
Um, so instead of being reunited with them, I was transferred over to immigration custody and sat in immigration for 2 months, and just, having this fear of, am I going to be sent to a country which my family escaped war from, a country which I had never set foot on, or that I don't know
mm.
much about its language or custom and so forth, right? And even if I'm going to be persecuted, right, because of,
Right.
political reason or so forth. But anyway, so fortunately, there wasn't a repatriation agreement with that country, the country of Laos and the U.S. I was released on state parole, and also on federal parole, in a sense, where I have to check in with ICE.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came home, I always wanted to go back to school, right? But because of
Right.
this deportation was on my mind, I'm like, you know what? Let me focus on trying to figure out a remedy for this. But instead of going back to school, what I did was, I just got involved with the things that I love to do, to give back to the community, to help, our community, especially
Right.
folks that are formerly incarcerated. Helping them out with reentry plan and so forth like that.
That's
At
right.
first, I at first I volunteered with the Asian Prisoner Support Committee. Then I became a fellow at the Asian Law Caucus, learning um, policy advocacy, organizing.
Mm-hmm.
Or and after my fellowship ended, that's when I, went to Open Rising and worked with you guys.
That's right. I was waiting for you. I was like, when is Danny going to say that? When is Danny going to say that?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but
And
what's
so
it?
just so folks know too, men, when we do recruitment for our paid canvassing team, we try to hire formerly incarcerated folks because, and system impacted folks because, I mean, who better to tell the story about why we need policies? We need to change these policies because these are the people who are directly impacted by that, right? And so, Danny, and so it's often a place where Oakland Rising, like folks come and be on our team and then they go and continue to do the work. And so we were actually really sad when we were really happy for him and we were happy for the Justice Reinvestment Coalition, but we were also like, oh, we're so sad Daddy's leaving us. Because y'all don't know, Danny's a joy to be with. Danny is such a joy. There's something so amazingly calming about just being in his presence and then just joyful, like all the laughter we have.
Yeah. So what was interesting is that I mean, when I look at the application, I saw that I mean, formerly incarcerated are encouraged. Right, and I was like, wow, okay, I have a chance. Yeah. So I applied, and when I was working with you guys, I was thinking to myself, right, especially going out canvassing, door knocking and so forth, right.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking to myself, here I am, I'm on parole and also at the same time on deportation order,
Right.
and I don't have the right, to vote, and also during that time, I mean, Prop
That's
17
right.
in the past as well,
Right.
So basically, I'm somebody that can't vote, but I'm out here, I mean, urging folks that have the privilege to vote, to get out there and vote, because it does make a difference. Your voice do matters. That's one thing I want to tell the community, that,
Right.
Don't believe in, what the oppression, narrative send out that, I mean, your voice don't count. It does count. It matters. Every single vote count because, folks actually pave way, with
That's right.
peers for us to have these rights.
That's right.
And us, we should exercise them.
That's right.
If we can, we should exercise them.
And just so that folks know, Prop 17 that just passed in 2020 reinstated the voting rights of formerly incarcerated people. So, and that was off of the, the hard work of people who do the work of working around decarceration and and the rights of incarcerated people. But the reason why it passed is because that hard work, but because people went and voted, like the people with that rights. So exactly what Danny was talking about.
Yeah.
So, but you went through sort of like these the fear of being deported, and then back to a country you've never even been to. And so then what happened? Like, can you remind me then the case, were you pardoned? I can't remember now, Danny.
Yeah. So let me see here. So in 2018, while I was doing, a lot of my work within the community, and also, just number 45, right, was in office. Yeah, and we know how that goes. And
Yes, we don't need to relive that.
Yeah, so because of that, I mean, that threat, and also, that let me see here, that sanction that he placed on the country of Laos and Myanmar and other country, stating that if these countries do not accept people that have final order removal, he's going to place a sanction on them. That's what he did, and because of that, so basically, what the sanction does to those type of countries, that it pretty much like push them in a corner to cave into what the U.S. want them to do.
Right.
But anyway, so because of that, we started a campaign, to get a pardon for myself, because a pardon is one of the way where I can, folks like myself that's under this deportation order, uh, can find a remedy and relief, meaning
Right.
that the reason why I was under a deportation order is because the ground of the conviction.
Right.
So what the pardon does is that it lifts the power of that ground
Right.
up for them to deport me.
Right.
So, but anyway, so because of that, I had reached out to some friends that I had worked with at the Asian Law Caucus.
Mm-hmm.
These were also like organizers as well.
Look at you were the right crowd this time, Danny.
Yeah. So yeah. That's what I did. I reached out to them, and who better else to help run a campaign to get you a part of than a bunch of organizers.
Organizing lawyers too on top of that.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's what we did. We launched a campaign, Stand for Danny. So by the way, that's how I got the Instagram name Stand for Danny. Yeah, so because of that, we launched a campaign to try to get a pardon, especially under Governor Brown
Right.
because Governor Brown was pardoning a lot of people
Right.
before he left. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get the pardon under Governor Brown. Then afterwards, we kept pushing, especially with the new governor, and really, highlighting the issue about, you know, um, immigration, deportation,
Right.
going on within our community, in our Southeast Asian community and so forth, right?
Right.
And because of that, they saw that, this is like injustice, because a person, have already served their time, being sent, being ordered deported or being threatened to be sent to a country of origin that you have never set foot on, that's a double punishment within itself, right?
That's right. That's right.
But according to the to the state law, once you have served your time, you should be that's it. You know,
Right.
you should have the right to come back and be reunited with your family or your community.
Right.
So, but anyway, so because of that, I was able to get that phone call. I think it was last year around November from the governor's office. And what was interesting is that I saw a number, a 916 number, right? And I was on a call or on a Zoom call or something. And in my mind, I'm thinking, is this a
A spam. But thank goodness you answered that call.
Yeah, how like you said, no caller ID. I'm like, okay. Yeah, so that's what I did. I answered the phone call, and yeah, the person on the other line said that, hello, is this Mr. Thongsy? I said, yes. I have good news for you. So at that moment, when the person said, I have good news for you, right? In my mind, already kind of know that, this is a call from the governor. I said the
Right.
governor decided to, grant you a pardon, a full pardon. And the person said, don't, thank you. Yeah, so
Ugh.
yeah, even before the person was able to get that word out right, I just started breaking down in tears.
Aw.
Tears for joy and excitement because, of all the hard work that has been, invested into the campaign, but also, tears of humility as well,
Mm.
thinking to myself that, I don't deserve this, especially after
Mm.
things that I had done in the past,
Mm.
It was a humbling and joyful experience as well, you know.
Appreciate that, Danny. I remember when we heard the news, how excited we were for you, and also that, this is how larger campaigns are won, right? How we can make the change is that then we chip away at these small at single cases, and then it builds to a larger movement. And so, you know, those moments where you think, oh, I can't share my story, or I shouldn't, you know, we shouldn't stand up for these individual folks, like that actually, because of Danny's case, then other cases are also brought, and it sets a precedent in terms of policy moving forward. Um, and you know, so Danny, while you got that call, I'm sure you were on a JRC Zoom meeting, Justice Reinvestment Coalition meeting. And so, in the last like 5 minutes of the time that we have, I wanted to just let folks know what the Justice Reinvestment Coalition is. You know, some of the work that we're doing. Like, so to be very clear, Oakland Rising is on the steering committee for the JRC, and as we think about moving forward together, we're working on a campaign together, and we'll do another Monday meals with some of the coordinators and the people who are really organizing the work around DA accountability, the district attorney's accountability campaign. But could you tell folks a little bit about the Justice Reinvestment Coalition of Alameda County, and like, you know, what are you doing there? What's your job there?
So yeah, just a little bit about our coalition. So the Justice Reinvestment Coalition of Alameda County, acronym short for JRC/AC, just say JRC. So we're comprised of community-based advocacy organization. We have, I think, about 15 organizations part of our coalition. So our main goal is to create a fair and just public safety system, you know, that's based on effective practices, mainly investing in our communities, our families, and our people. That's why, like, you know, we mobilize and advocate, you know, especially when the Board of Supervisors, you know, doing funding and allocation. You know, we want to make sure that our community, you know, have those funding, right? Because it all stem from, you know, I mean, where's the money going to, right? Is it
Right.
going to law enforcement? Is it going to such and such, right? What about our school? What about our, you know, our community? What about programs? What about, you know, healthcare, so forth? What about jobs and so forth, right? You know, these are the things that our community are lacking, you know, and
Right.
that's what sure that our community has these resources, right? So, as part of my role is that I'm the campaign coordinator, meaning that I coordinate between each member of the coalition, you know, but communicating with them and also making sure that everything goes well, and also at the same time, you know, supporting with our campaigns. We have the DA accountability campaign. We have the Decarcerate Alameda County, which is dealing with you know, mental health and non-incarceration. The Free Our Kids Coalition campaign, which is, you know, investing in youth justice system according to community-based, not, you know, probation and so forth. We also have our Reentry AB 109 campaign, which, you know, focus on helping folks that are on, you know, probation, parole, and so forth like that to have the resources that they need to thrive. And lastly, the campaign that we're, you know, just had launched this past month is called our political education campaign. So just a little bit about the political education campaign. So you can follow us with the hashtag No Alameda County. Right now, like, you know, we're working on ways to make a lot of the content or the information available, especially on a website and so forth. So basically, the you know, the vision and the mission of the campaign is to educate our residents to participate in shaping policy that affect our community. Basically, we want you know, our people to get excited to make a difference, especially in making decisions that's based on understanding, you know, the criminal legal system. We want to make sure that you know, our community are provided or educated about, you know, these like stakeholders, you know, that make key decisions within our county, right?
That's
Like
right.
with background information about them, and also, you know, our main focus is that we want our community to have the knowledge and be self-empowered, and knowing that they can build, you know, collective power, and you know, and bring about change, especially, you know, I mean, our community that has been marginalized and so forth.
Right, right. So I just dropped in the chat. You can go to JRC of AC.org for the website. You can check out all of the organizations that are part of the Justice Reinvestment Coalition. I also dropped in the chat a petition, Free Our Kids, petition that is really trying to bring an end to some really violent and harmful practices that juvenile probation is using on our kids in Alameda County, like using the restraints and pepper spray and solitary confinement of our children. And this is really it's detrimental. And I know that to their health and to their well-being. And it does. The original petition was trying to get 400 people to sign it. Now we're trying to get to 600. So those numbers are too small for me, y'all. We need to get this number to 1,000. So share that out with people. Follow all of the work that the Justice Reinvestment Coalition is doing, because they're doing these. We're doing together these workshops around DA accountability, like who's the district attorney, what kind of power do they have, and what's the power of these electeds and the choices and the impacts it's making on our community, so that you all can learn and know about that. And then, continue to follow Oakland Rising on that as well. Danny, I really appreciate you. I thank you so much for sharing your personal story and like the dedication that you have to the work, and the dedication that translates into like liberation of all our communities and our people. And so, you really brought like I always like to do this too, because I feel like sometimes we're so hyper local, we don't think about outside of that, but like that the history that you told us around, your immigration story, and, and the impact of war on your family and your community, and how it's translated into incarceration and, issue around deportation and that type of state violence. So I appreciate you for that. And so next week, we're going to be talking on Monday Meals about redistricting. So please continue to follow us so that you can learn a little bit more about what that means. You can go to oaklandrising.org/donate if you'd like to donate to us for the kind of work that we're doing here. And you can follow Danny on the socials, Stand for Danny. You can follow the Justice Reinvestment Coalition as well on all of the social media. And thank you so much, Danny. I really appreciate you for coming on. And we'll have you on again so we could talk more about that, the DA accountability work.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. It's always a pleasure.
Always, always. So have a great day, Danny. And we will see you all soon.
Thanks, Liz. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.